So now I wouldn't mind talking a little bit about my experience so far with nurse practitioner school. So I am 8 weeks into NP school, and so far it's been good. I finished my class. It was basically a class about policy, a little bit of politics, organizations, things like that. It was just basically papers based, and it's all online. And this is my first time taking a exclusive online class, and plus it's asynchronous. So there's no presentation. There's a PowerPoint that you could read it on your own, but there isn't like a professor reading you the PowerPoint or giving you notes. You're basically on your own. But the nice thing about this was that I am doing it at my own pace. So people that are maybe thinking about going to NP school, and I'm not sure if every school allows a online version and a in-class version, but if you're curious about the online version and if it's asynchronous, it's definitely doable. It's 100% doable, and it's doable while still being able to work, because you're only doing 1 or 2 classes at a time. It's like a 2 to 3 year course, so I should be done with this anywhere from 2 to 3 years, hopefully sooner than later. And you can work full time and do this because you're doing everything on your own time. So that makes things a little bit easier. You're not responsible for, hey, you have to be in this class on Tuesday. You have to watch this lecture by Wednesday or whatever. You just have due dates, and you just gotta manage your time and be able to turn in things on those due dates. But everything else is asynchronous. You're doing everything else on your time. They give you a syllabus, they give you a schedule and due dates, and it's your responsibility to figure that out. And I thought I might have like a little bit of an issue with this because I'm more of like when it comes to school, first of all, I was never really the best at school, so always a more structured environment I felt was always more beneficial for me. Like class from 9 to 12. You get a lecture, you do notes, and then you go home and study. Exam every Friday. Like that's what I liked because it kept me on course, and I know I had to be there. So this was, I thought, was going to be a little bit of a challenge because now I have to almost motivate myself to do these things because there's no expectation of, hey, you have to attend this class. It's, hey, do what you want, turn the stuff in on time, and make sure it's done correctly and properly. So that was a interesting experience. My next class is going to be a stats class, so I'll see how that goes. But in this course, like I said, it was more of a paper-based course. What we had discussion boards every week. So every single week we had discussion boards, and a handful of times we had to talk about like a newsletter. We had to subscribe to a healthcare related newsletter, and some of those discussions boards were focused on that kind of newsletter. It was also a research based class, so I had to write 3 papers in the class, and also had to do a debate. The debate was interesting. It was actually easier than I thought because, like I said, I was kind of skeptical on, hey, how is asynchronous class going to work? It's going to be kind of hard to plan stuff, but it's not as hard as you think. The debate went well. It was actually, like I said, easier than I thought. For the debate, we had debate topics to choose from, and I picked my topic a little bit late, so I got a little bit of a more difficult topic, or at least I felt like it was more difficult. But at the end, it was even that difficult. There was 3 of us in the group, and we actually spoke on the negatives. So we were debating against federal regulation of the cost of prescription drugs for Medicare and Medicaid. We did a pretty cool PowerPoint. I learned a lot, and maybe I'll put it on the website, or I'll probably link it down in the description if anything, so you guys could check it out. So I actually argued against prescription drug prices. So that was pretty cool. And then the 3 papers that I wrote, we did have like topics to pick from, but I thought, hey, let me try pick a topic that I maybe would like to write about more or learn about more, because in nursing school, I feel like these topics were more forced on you, and you had to just pick whatever topic was recommended to you or whatever list of topics you had to choose from. And I always never liked that. So this time around, I was like, hey, I've been a nurse for 6-7 years, and I'm going to grad school now. So let me maybe take more control of what I really want to do, what I really want to write about. So I happen to write all 3 papers about the benefits of psychedelic therapy as an alternative to the current mental health treatment. So I wrote my papers about psychedelic therapies, and I compared them to basically SSRIs, NSRIs, and medications like that, and the more standardized approach of how we tackle mental health in the United States, because I've always been interested in psychedelics like ketamine, psilocybin, DMT, all those kind of all those kind of things, because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of benefit from them. I even interviewed somebody that owned a ketamine clinic, and we talked a lot about that, about how ketamine helps with PTSD, helps with depression, certain mood disorders. And I always found that to be a little bit of a better treatment than having to be dependent on a pill every single day. And by the time those pills start working, it's 3, 4, maybe 6 months, versus psychedelic therapy. It's a lot of times it's more of a breakthrough treatment where on the first, second, third session, you might be going through like a mental breakthrough. You might be feeling better with yourself. You might be feeling okay with what you're dealing with, and you feel like you're understanding yourself more, versus having to take a pill every day and then hoping it improves your mood. I feel like psychedelic therapy with also speaking to a therapist, because I believe speaking is probably the most important thing. Speaking with somebody is definitely the most important thing, because it's speaking honestly and getting comfortable with the person you're speaking with. Because just like with any kind of relationship, in the beginning, things are a little slow. You're a little skeptical. You're kind of slow to open up, and sometimes you're not always fully honest with yourself or with the other person. So I feel like once you talk to somebody a couple times, you become more open, and that's when really the breakthroughs kind of happen. And psychedelic therapy kind of offers a similar thing in the sense that it's not changing your mood on a daily basis like a pill does. It's not changing the way serotonin is staying in your brain or your body or your chemistry, right? It's more of like a thing you do, like for ketamine, and I know for like psilocybin, you don't do it every single day. You do it once, then you do it again a week later, or 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, and your breakthrough comes when you do these psychedelics, when you do these alternative therapies. And it's not necessarily changing your mood. It is changing your mood for that time being, but it's also changing your perspective in a way where it's having you become more open with yourself and people around you. So it's always a good experience. It can be scary at times, because I'm sure you guys have heard of maybe like an ego death, which is super scary. You could be going through some shit. You could be going through some trauma when you're on psychedelics. But I feel like at the end, when you kind of compose yourself and you reflect on what happened, you realize that those things happen for a reason, because you're battling something, right? So I always found that to be more beneficial than just taking a pill that just alters your mood. And that's basically what it's changing. It's trying to make you happy, or change your anxiety, or change your depression by just altering your brain chemistry. Even though psychedelics are doing a similar thing, I feel like there's more inner work that you're doing with psychedelics versus when you're taking an SSRI. So that's what I did my papers on. I'll link them. I'll put it on the website, and then I'll probably link them on the bottom too if you guys want to read through them. I mean, 2 of them are like 3 pages. One's like 5. So if you're interested in that and want to learn more about psychedelics, psychedelic therapy, they're going to be free for y'all to just take a peek at. Maybe I'll do an episode of just on psychedelic therapy, just so you guys can maybe learn more about it. But I know in Illinois, they're trying to pass a law to legalize psilocybin. That law has kind of been on standstill for about a year. Oregon has legalized them. Colorado has legalized them for the most part. And slowly different states are legalizing them, because the success rate of using SSRIs and other drugs, it's not very high. It's like anywhere from 60% to maybe 70% of people benefit from them, but you're still leaving 40 to 30% people kind of empty-handed, And just the fact that, hey, you got to take a pill every single day and you got to be dependent on that pill every single day. For sometimes people have to be dependent on that for the rest of their lives. People are on those pills for years, even though the goal is to get off of them. Sometimes coming off of them is rough. It sucks, you know, because you maybe have rebound depression that's maybe worse than what it started. Maybe you just can't survive without that medication, you know, and that kind of sucks to be dependent. So yeah, that's my little rant for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and if you guys have any cool episode ideas, let me know. And also check out the shop. I'm going to be a link below if you want to get some nursing gear. I'm also thinking about creating a different shop for just clothes in general. I had a goal of mine when it comes to the gym is I wanted to not buy gym clothes from any companies besides the clothes that I make. And that's kind of been on standstill because I've been busy, but I always like fashion a little bit. I always like the way people design things, and I always found that to be interesting. So maybe I'll open up just like a regular non-healthcare related shop for some merch. But yeah, but in the meantime, guys, check out what I got. And hope you guys have an amazing week. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Hope you guys learned something. Have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye.